The briefing room under Cheyenne Mountain was quiet except for the soft hum of the air recyclers. Colonel Elias Vance stood at the head of the table, arms folded, while the rest of SG35 waited. Dr. Lena Moreau sat with a datapad open. Major Torrin Hale leaned back in his chair with the easy posture of a man who had already decided the mission would be routine. And Lieutenant Sophia Reyes checked the charge indicators on the medical kit one last time. General Landry's image occupied the main screen. P3X-917. Address is locked and verified. MALP shows breathable atmosphere, temperate climate. No obvious signs of go-ahold or Wraith technology. Standard survey. You have 72 hours before check-in. Questions? Vance shook his head. No, sir, we'll keep it clean. Dial them up, Landry ordered. The team moved with practiced efficiency. By the time they reached the gate room, the chevrons were already locking. The kawoosh erupted, settled into the shimmering event horizon, and SG35 stepped through without ceremony. They emerged onto a gentle slope of green grass under a pale blue sky. The Stargate stood on a low stone platform, weathered but intact. No DHD was immediately visible. It sat half-buried 20 meters away, under a thin layer of soil and vines. Beyond the platform, the land rolled into a broad valley dotted with fields and a cluster of wooden buildings that looked lifted straight from a European medieval village. Thatched roofs, timber frames, smoke rising from a few chimneys. Vance keyed his radio. SG35 on the ground. Gate secure. Proceeding to settlement. The walk took 20 minutes. Villagers noticed them long before they reached the first houses. People stopped working in the fields, set down tools, and watched with open curiosity rather than fear. A man in a simple linen tunic and leather boots stepped forward as the team approached the edge of the village square. He was broad-shouldered, dark-haired, and appeared to be in his mid-30s. "Travelers," he said in clear English, "you come from the Circle of Light." Moreau exchanged a glance with Vance. The language was perfect, unaccented. "Yes, we are explorers. My name is Lena. This is Elias, Torrin, and Sophia." The man smiled. "I am Harlan. Welcome to Brightvale. You are the first in a long while." They were led to a long wooden hall at the center of the village. Food was offered: bread, cheese, roasted root vegetables, a mild ale. The people were friendly, open, and curious about the team's clothing and gear, but not alarmed. Children ran between the tables without shyness. No one asked about weapons or technology. They simply accepted the visitors as they were. Over the next hours, the team split into pairs for a quiet survey. Hale and Reyes walked the perimeter, while Vance and Moreau spoke with elders and craftsmen. Everything looked ordinary. The tools were iron and wood. The fields were well tended, livestock were healthy. There were no temples, no symbols of the system lords, no evidence of advanced technology beyond the Stargate itself. Yet something felt wrong. Reyes noticed it first during a conversation with a young woman who was mending a fishing net. The woman spoke of a fever that had swept through the valley 2 summers past. When Reyes asked how many had fallen ill, the woman looked puzzled. Fallen ill? No one was sick, the air was simply warmer than usual. Later, Hale asked an older man about the last time someone had been buried. The man frowned as though the words themselves were strange. "Buried? We do not put people in the ground, why would we?" By the second day, the pattern was clear. No one in Brightvale had ever been sick. No one had ever died. When the team carefully introduced the concept using animals, old age, injury, the villagers listened with polite confusion. They understood injury, cuts healed, bones mended, but the idea that a person might simply stop living was foreign. They had no word for it. They had no funerals, no graves, no mourning customs. They spoke of ancestors as if those ancestors still walked the fields just beyond the next hill. Moreau recorded every conversation. They remember events in precise detail that by their own timelines happened 200 or 300 years ago. Harvests, a flood, the arrival of a previous group of travelers who stayed only a day. They speak of them as if it were last season. Vance kept his voice low. And none of them think any of this is unusual. Exactly, they're not hiding it. They simply don't know anything else. The team expanded the search. They walked the surrounding valleys, climbed low ridges, questioned travelers who came into the village with carts of goods. The answers never changed. The world, as far as the people of Brightvale knew, was the valley and the gentle hills around it. Beyond that, the mountains rose. On the third local day, they pushed farther. Using the MALP's remaining charge and their own instruments, they mapped outward in every direction. At approximately 500 miles from the village, measured by GPS and confirmed by multiple bearings, the land ended in a wall of stone so high the instruments could not resolve its peak. The mountains rose sheer and black, without foothills, without passes. Thermal readings showed no gradient. Seismic sensors returned nothing useful. The rock simply continued upward, beyond the range of every sensor they carried. Vance stood on a ridge looking at the impossible wall of stone that ringed the entire known world of Brightvale. "That's not natural," Hale nodded. "And it's the same distance in every direction. Perfect circle." They dialed home that evening. The gate activated on the first try. When the event horizon stabilized, Vance stepped through expecting the usual gate room, the usual faces, the usual debrief. Instead, he found himself facing a startled sergeant and a clock that showed only 3 minutes had passed since SG35 had left Earth. Landry was on the intercom within moments. Vance gave the report in clipped sentences. The village, the absence of death, the perfect health, the memories spanning centuries, the ring of unmeasurable mountains. Landry listened without interruption, then ordered the team to remain on site while the Odyssey was diverted. The BC-304 arrived in orbit less than an hour later by Earth time. Colonel Samantha Carter's voice came over the radio, calm and precise. "SG-35, this is Odyssey. We have reached the coordinates of P3X917. There is no planet. Repeat, no planetary body of any kind. What we have is a cube. Approximately the same dimensions as a Stargate, matte black, no visible seams or surface features. Solid to every scan we can run. Your tracking signals are coming from inside it. Asgard transporters cannot get a lock. Whatever is generating that environment is blocking them completely." Vance looked at his team. The village still looked peaceful under the late afternoon sun. Children were still playing. Harlan was still smiling as he spoke with Moreau about the last great flood. "Understood, Odyssey. We're coming home." They made their goodbyes as briefly as protocol allowed. Harlan walked them back to the Stargate platform. "You will return?" he asked. Moreau managed a smile. "We don't know yet." The gate activated. SG-35 stepped through. The medical bay at the SGC was quiet and bright. Dr. Brightman ran every test twice. Blood work, full body scans, neural mapping, genetic sequencing. The results came back identical for all 4 members of the team. Perfect health, not merely the absence of current illness, no scar tissue from old injuries, no residual markers from childhood diseases, no surgical traces, no healed fractures, no dental work that had ever been needed. Cellular aging markers were consistent with their chronological ages, yet every system functioned at the absolute peak of human capability. Even minor asymmetries, Vance's old shoulder injury from a prior mission, Reyes's slight scoliosis, Hale's reconstructed knee, were simply gone. The body had rewritten itself into an ideal state. Brightman stood in front of the light board with the scans glowing behind her. "I've never seen anything like it. It's as if every past trauma was erased and the baseline was reset to perfect. They're not enhanced, they're corrected." Landry read the report in silence, then closed the folder. "The cube is still there. Odyssey is maintaining station. We've got probes on the way, and the Asgard core is chewing on the sensor data. Whatever that place was, it wasn't a planet. It was a construct. And whatever ran it decided to give 4 of our people a clean slate." Vance sat on the edge of the examination table, turning his hands over as if expecting to see the old scars reappear. They did not. Outside the mountain, the world continued as it always had, messy, finite, mortal. Inside the briefing room the next morning, SG-35 received new orders. The cube remained in orbit around an empty point in space. The people of Brightvale, if they still existed in any meaningful way, continued their endless, perfect lives behind an unbroken wall of stone that no longer registered on any sensor. And somewhere in the files of Stargate Command, a new notation was added to the mission report for P3X-917. Anomaly unresolved. Personnel returned in optimal physical condition. Further contact not advised until nature of the construct is understood. Vance closed the folder and looked at his team. None of them spoke for a long moment. Then Hale gave a short, dry laugh. "Well," he said, "at least we know what perfect feels like." No one answered. Outside the mountain, the Colorado sun was rising, and the gate was already spinning for the next address.